Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Dragon Magic event in which the Asha is added to the game. So let's get into it. 400 glory each. It is of course an epic, which means twice as many the arcane trait stones. These are the best time to ever actually buy any of the event week troops whenever they have a 400 cost, because it comes out to 200 each per the arcanes. These are arcane venoms. These are mainly used for things like a kraken, if you happen to have, would be the #1 priority. If you don't have a kraken, there are still plenty of decent things, a lot of empower troops and stuff like that. Really good utilities. Things like Spirit Fox and Siren would probably be your other two really high priority things to use your green-purple arcane trait stones on. So Asha itself, very similar to that of a Dark Maiden. Dark Maiden is a 10 mana cost troop that converts yellow to a color of choice that then does a HP buff onto your first troop. This is the similar concept for a 2 higher mana cost, but it converts all blues to a chosen color and then enchants a random ally and gives them 3 magic. 3 magic can be quite substantial if it is a troop that hits all enemies, or really just anything in general that happens to scale well with a magic buff. The enchant, of course, is 2 mana per turn until it reaches full mana, and then once it casts its ability, it no longer has it. Could be somewhat good against drain spam in case they are draining you down. You would still retain the enchant, regardless of how much mana you end up losing. You would still be able to have that 2 mana per turn to bounce back with. What's pretty noteworthy of this is the fact that it can convert out blue. This will make it a really good counter to things like a Justice Team and Queen Mab, as well as Kraken, and there's quite a bit of potential as far as countering to blue that this will be able to provide to a team. As far as the traits, nothing really too relevant other than the fact that it has a magic link. Magic link, of course, is +1 extra purple, and this could be synergized with additional magic links to get quite a bit of mana generation. It can also be synergized with himself, because since you can convert blues to any color, purple is a color, so you will be able to convert it to that. Also, it's somewhat noteworthy that it is Mana Shield. This is mainly noteworthy against a Queen Mab. Similar to the whole concept of countering Queen Mab, it does have both Mana Shield and the capability to convert out this color, so a pretty solid counter for it if you ever are struggling against any team that happens to use her. The only problem is it is still going to be weak against her freeze, because it doesn't really have any counter to freeze. Maybe if it had a cleanse, that would help some, but unfortunately, if you do get frozen before, you basically have to disable her before she disables you, is the bottom line with what will happen there. But anyways, that's the new Asha troop. As far as event keys, is it worth? Yes. Yes, there is almost no week more worth using it than this week. Dragon Soul is still the only legendary troop within Dragon's Claw Kingdom, and Dragon Soul is extremely powerful. Arguably one of the strongest troops in the entire game, and quite possibly the most well-rounded troop currently in Gems of War. It has a massive explosion that will explode a bunch of gems that scales based on its magic. It has a base damage that by default does 11 damage to all enemies and can hit as high as 20 damage to all enemies, even from a very low level. So it can be quite potent throughout the entire game, particularly if you can get it below level 200. It will absolutely just crush through absolutely everything that you will be facing. As far as anything else that happens to be in the event key drop pool right now, you will also be able to obtain a Elma Grimm. Elma Grimm, of course, is a mythic. You can see him right there. He creates a bunch of purples and is really good at reducing attack from the enemy team. So obviously, event keys are good. Let's go into the actual objectives. There are the Dragon's Claw, getting 10% to all other stats, as well as mythics. This is somewhat applicable. It does things to like Dragon Soul and new troop. We'll end up getting 20%. Dragon Soul, as I mentioned, already a really solid troop, so getting more stats is quite wonderful. We get 5 additional glory whenever we end up using a Asha in PvP, and of course we'll be showing some teams for him. Quite a bit of versatility that he has as far as what he can be used with. For the most part, I'm pretty sure you're going to be spamming to fully utilize his +5 glory, the 1 trophies, mainly because you'll be able to get a lot quicker the +5 glory per battle by spamming the 1 trophy. Any week that it's a week like this, where all you have to use is a single troop with a +5 glory, are the easiest ways to actually accumulate glory. There's never any week where you'd be able to accumulate more glory than a week like this, so definitely a good idea to use it, particularly on the 1 trophy battles. And as far as the event week, pretty good for early game players, not so much for late game players. The main issue right here is, or not issue, but we gotta play the treasure hunt minigame. And of course, most of you know this. If you happen to need treasure maps, all you need to do is go get yourself a Tyree from Zolkiri, which is the exact place where we actually go and play the treasure hunt minigame. She can farm upwards of 100 maps per hour. She's really solid for farming maps, and you can get all of them that you'd really need, or you can simply just buy them for a small amount of glory. With the +5 glory this week, it'll be super easy to actually obtain more maps if you happen to need it. But essentially, most of you know what the treasure hunt minigame is. It's just a little minigame that is within the game that allows you to gain some treasures. Noteworthy thing about this, though, for any of you that don't know, particularly early game players or people just starting out in the game, you do not actually gain EXP from playing the treasure hunt minigame. It's basically the only thing, or one of the only things, that you can really do perpetually in Gems of War that gives you absolutely no EXP whatsoever. This might seem like a bad thing, but early on in the game, this is actually a good thing. The reason for this is the matchmaking in this game is based on many factors, but one of those factors is your level. So if you happen to retain a lower level, you'll be able to do arena as well as PvP at a slightly easier rate, as your opponents will be slightly easier compared to if you happen to have been a higher level. So do keep that in mind. As far as the treasure hunt minigame itself, it's pretty much useless to do if you happen to have any of the 100% armors. Once you gain the 100% armors, there's really no point in doing the treasure hunt minigame. The only time you ever do it is for events like this. I do have to say, though, it is actually worth doing the event, mainly just because of all the resources that you will, at least this week, to just the resources that you end up getting from the treasure hunt this week. So yeah, just basically go through it, take whatever moves you want to do. It doesn't really matter how you really play the treasure hunt for the most part. Due to 4x speed, you can really just play it however you want, either really slowly and just enjoy it, or as quickly as possible just for the sake of getting as many of the resources as possible. Because doing it quickly due to 4x speed will actually give you more resources per hour than if you were to think out all of your moves. But as you can see right there, get 47 moves. We also get some seals if we happen to get it all the way to 60. But there we go. Get that all the way up and get our rewards. Come on, let us click. There we go. And that gives us our normal rewards. And we do get our 4 event gems, as you can see right there. And we actually got no gems that time. Feels like every single time I've been showing it lately, I've been getting no gems. It does indeed give gems. And quite a decent amount, actually. As far as if you want to perpetually farm gems, that's actually the best way to do so, is by doing that. And yeah, as you can see, we actually get quite a bit of extra gems, quite a few event keys this week too, which is pretty nice because this is actually the week to be using your event keys. As far as Visk is useless. Don't bother with him. No one ever bother with him in this current state. There isn't a single instance where he really gets used. But let's get into some battles now. Here is my basically my preferred team that I've been liking to use with the new troop of Asha. Also, if I was to do 1 trophy wipes to farm up the glory, this would probably be the exact team I would use. Christine X, Dragon Soul, Shadow Dragon, and Asha, utilizing the extra magic link on both the Shadow Dragon as well as on the Asha. One thing to note about Asha, though, as far as trading it, I didn't really mention this at the beginning of the video, but is it worth trading Asha? If you plan on using it, it is. The only problem with it is an epic troop, so it does cost 12 arcanes, which is quite expensive. All epics are quite expensive as far as the traits that they actually end up giving for their value. Most of them have pretty poor value, and he's no exception. But the +1 mana, purple mana on him is quite a huge mechanic on him, so not having it could be quite detrimental to you actually being able to fully utilize him within a team. But of course, what we're going to be doing right now, basically just shifting everything around, getting what we need, hopefully getting some Shadow Dragons off. Those are the main things we really need to be landing on the board. And as you can see right there, we get the alignment for it. That will then allow us to cast him if we want. Of course, we'd ideally want to be using this on purple. Almost every team you'd ever be using with him would be using it on the purple color if you can. Of course, you can aim on other colors if you wish. Like right now, we can do in red extra turn, though we don't really get much value from doing so, so we are not going to bother there. We'll just take out some greens, just get the board a little bit shifted. I'll let him do whatever on the board right there. And we did end up getting frozen, and we are frozen on purple, which is quite unfortunate. That is definitely not a color we really want to be frozen on, because it makes it a lot harder to use him, as well as everything on our team in general. So we'll throw a Dragon Soul. Hopefully we can still get a blue to red convert, even though we just destroyed the entire board. Nope, looks like he's overwriting some stuff, and now we're frozen on almost everything, making it a little bit useless to actually cast him out this turn. Looks like we might end up winning without really even utilizing anything beyond his +1 purple. It might seem like we didn't actually use him that battle, but that +1 purple definitely helped us out a lot in being able to accumulate our mana, and that combined with the Shadow Dragon's +1 with our banner ended up giving us +2 to purple, +2 to red, and +1 to yellow, which gave us a really nice spread. This is actually the Dragon's Claw banner too. Ends up synergizing perfectly with this team. So up against another all-dragon team, looks like he already put in his Asha as well. Is that our 2 trophy or a 3 trophy? That's actually our 3 trophy. That's a little odd. Well, let's go. It's a little bit lower on stats than what it normally would be, but let's go throw down Asha Elamagrim. Basically the standard kind of like Rock Troll, Dark Troll team, except with Asha. It ends up working out pretty decently, has the double dragon synergy, and you can convert this into a full purple board. Instead of running with like a brown purple board, you can just run spamming everything into purple, which ends up working out pretty decently. So right over there, we're pretty much just going to let him get a skull. Let's see, how do I want to take this brown? I actually do not know. I think we'll take it that way. So we'll do that. Try to get Dark Troll up. So we can start getting it rolling that way. So we get our Dark Troll. He takes our purple though, which leaves us at a really huge disadvantage right there. If I take this green against a bunch of blue, he doesn't actually utilize it though. And him entangling us isn't too big a deal. Did we just get a Death Touch kill? I think that happened in the previous battle too, and I wasn't paying attention. But, no, it couldn't have. We didn't even have Death Touch. With this battle, that definitely just died to Death Touch. So here's the main thing that we wanted to be doing, which is converted to purple. And this team is definitely no exception, given what it's running with. You pretty much always want to be throwing it on those purples. It just has the better value due to the traits that it has. So we'll throw that down. Probably get it, and we do. We'll just double the purple, and essentially the whole premise of this team, kind of like the Rock Troll, Dark Troll, but this one is to keep the board constantly purple, so that we can just constantly, for the entire battle, cast Elamagrim. And once it gets going, we pretty much just have those solid 3 to constantly throw. And Furnace is mainly just there for the burn. You can easily replace it out with a Yarrow, and it would essentially do the exact same thing for the most part. So, yep, works out pretty well. Probably one of the stronger ones as well. I still am a fan of the 4 dragon one though. Still, if I was to just run through the 1 trophies, this is personally my one I'll probably be messing around with the most. Mainly because it uses the nice Christine X Dragon Soul combo and has a nice extra. It just has so much purple that or so much mana that it gets utilized. And normally it's not possible to +2/+2 onto a Dragon Soul, which means essentially if you mana surge both times, you will get full mana just from taking 3 Peers, allowing you to do a 2-turn Dragon Soul. And now I wanted to show an anti-justice team kind of variant with this. That'd be funny if it actually fails, as I'm making a team literally to counter this. But I did make sure I repicked this one until we could find a Queen Map team. It actually took me like 30 repicks to find a Justice team. It is really hard to find this team this week, or these days. Not quite sure what's up with that. It's actually still pretty decent. I don't know if console happens to have it still a little bit more active than us, but haven't really been able to find as many. But as you guys know, it can be a little bit annoying. Most people will run it with either a Kraken or Corvash in first slot. Some people also run it with Assassin class first slot. But most of you know the base of the team, the Valkyrie Justice Queen Map combo. It is quite popular. A little bit less popular, as you can see right now these days, but still a decently popular kind of team synergy that ends up getting used. We'll want to have these Astral Spirit just to get a really quick start to get us rolling on the convert, and ideally we'd get a really nice convert. Also, this is a bit of an anti-Kraken team, as I mentioned. So basically the 3 core things that this thing is meant to counter, it is on the enemy team, both the Kraken, the Justice, and the Queen Mab. Probably 3 of the biggest things it can counter. Unfortunately, like I mentioned earlier, if the Queen Mab ends up getting all of the freezes off before you can actually do anything, you're stuck in a situation kind of like this, where, yeah, we're actually in a pretty bad spot. Well, first things first, let's go actually kill him with that skull. I don't want to have to deal with a Kraken just sitting there. That is not something we will want to have there. So we're actually not frozen on brown, surprisingly. So you know what? Let's just go convert on brown. That'll give us a Salvani more, so we can actually do something without losing our turn. The skull, I'm probably just going to swipe. We're actually really limited on what we can do while we retain these freezes on our core troops. It just gives us a lot of blue right there. We don't really need the blue. This team wasn't made for the purpose of taking blue, mainly just converting it out. This Astral Spirit up front is basically just a throwaway. But, let's see. I don't want to just get rid of blue, though, because we still need it on the board. We can get rid of something maybe like red. Even though we have our double blue damage right there, we don't necessarily need it unless we want to go and one-shot one of them. And if we happen not to be able to reach the one-shot, then it wouldn't really serve much of a purpose. But right now, we're not really finding much to convert. We can maybe do green right now, like over there to the yellow, or the blue into the green. But yeah, we don't really have the mana to put it anywhere, so we could go for yellow right now. So that's something we can do. He doesn't have the green there anymore. We could take the purple into the green, so I guess we'll do that. Go and kill out that with the double damage. So we'll do that, get our extra magic, go from there. And let's see if we can get a nice convert here. Purple, no, there's nothing we can do still with it, unfortunately. So we will need some board clear before we can cast it again. So we'll do that. We'll throw down the double damage, and I believe that is enough. No, 52. It is 1 damage off. Can you give a magic buff to the other one? That'd be great. We could finally utilize the magic buff that we have on you. So again, we could throw this on purple. Shall we? I guess we shall. Okay, let's throw it on purple. Why not? This team isn't really one that you try to do the purple throw on. Nope, we didn't actually get it to land, but I don't think it's going to matter. We can just do the skull to lower it down. And yeah, that's definitely going to be way enough to overkill it. And yeah, you can actually mess around a little bit with the first slot. I mainly just did Astral Spirit, so if they happen to be using a Porvash variant, so you could easily Astral Spirit into the guaranteed Amira kill. But also for the board control that initially gives. But yeah, you could probably go like Gorgolfa or something, might also end up working since you could go the double explosion, would still be the tankiness that you would need to counter it out. Could maybe even, if you want Gorgolfa, replace out the Salvani Mora if you didn't want to go down that route. But just kind of going for those one-shots with Amira with the convert off the Asha would end up working quite decently. And just one more time, just to kind of emphasize a kind of 1 trophy wipe. Let's see if we can get a week 1 trophy here. So like this is basically what I was referring to with being able to farm glory off your 1 trophy. You just find a really easy 1 trophy. You can actually do this, I didn't even need a repick there. You can actually do this in casual PvP too. You can go find a really, really easy challenge like this. Just go throw down your team. Why is that? What am I looking for? I'm looking for the 4x dragons. Just throw down your team and throw it down against something like this. I'll go show it real quick against both because it shouldn't really take too long to be able to kill both of our objectives here. So essentially what we're trying to do by doing this is just winning as quickly as we possibly can. For this particular team, as I mentioned, we do have a +2 on both the red and the purple, which will allow us to get mana really, really quick, though it does help if they're actually red and purple on the board. That is one thing that kind of matters if we're trying to go red-purple. We need red-purple on board. We're getting really unlucky with surges right now, but once we get going, we should be able to keep it going. I see the Christina X up, not really going to need it at this current moment in time. Actually, we do, never mind. That's what we're going to use to team wipe it right there. So there we go. Once we get it going, just instantly wins. Ideally, it would get up a little bit quicker than that, but we do end up getting that +5 glory there, and as you can see, we end up getting quite a few more. We could also do it in standard PvP if we really wanted to, if we wanted to get some of the rating out of it. But any of the 1 trophies are going to be pretty good value if you are interested in a surplus of glory. It's not how I got all of my glory, but it is how I have been able to keep my glory up a decent amount, is whenever there is a +5 glory week, I do tend to farm it up just a little bit. There's never a better time to farm. If you ever wanted to farm up glory, now is the time to do it, particularly with the fact that you get these fun dragon teams to mess around with. And just to emphasize one more time before we do end the video, definitely if you have not gotten a dragon soul yet, use event keys this week. It has really good values. There's even Elomagrim in the drop pool. One other thing to mention though about event keys, do not open event keys if you already have a mythic dragon soul just to try for the Elomagrim. The chance of you getting it is very, 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 very slim. But if you're already opening up event keys to begin with to try to get your first dragon soul, or if you're trying to get it to mythic, it would be the best value to do it within that range. Just don't overspend on it. But yeah, definitely get yourself a dragon soul. It is a really fun troop, one of my personal favorite. It could quite possibly actually be my favorite troop in the entire game, and it's the only legend in a drop pool of event keys, so really, really easy to obtain. Anyways, guys, I'll wrap it up for this video. If you still have any other questions, please feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Thank you everyone for watching, and have a wonderful day.